Lily Chen gripped the transport shuttle's armrest as Silverlight Academy came into view through the viewport. The massive orbital station gleamed against the purple planet below, home to thousands of students from dozens of species across the Galactic Union. Her stomach twisted with nerves that had nothing to do with the docking procedure. The carrier beside her seat rustled, and a low grunt emerged from within. Lily glanced down at the reinforced container holding Ratch, her companion animal. Through the ventilation slots, she could see his dark eyes blinking sleepily. "Almost there, buddy," she whispered. An Androsi student across the aisle noticed her speaking to the carrier. His crystalline skin refracted light as he leaned toward his friend, another tall being with similar features. They exchanged looks and quiet laughs. Lily pretended not to notice. The shuttle docked with barely a tremor. Students gathered their belongings and their companions. Lily watched as a craw boy named Breck commanded his massive Thrager to heel. The armored beast stood nearly as tall as Lily herself, with scales like polished metal and eyes that glowed amber. It moved with predatory grace despite its bulk. Another student, an insectoid Seafar girl called Nella, had her symbiote wrapped around her shoulders. The creature shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, beautiful and clearly intelligent. Others had companions equally impressive, flying creatures with jeweled wings, quadrupeds that phased slightly out of normal space, even one that appeared to be made of living crystal. Lily picked up Ratch's carrier and joined the line of departing students. Professor Halvin waited in the academy's main atrium, his crystalline form towering over even the tallest students. His voice resonated with natural authority as he welcomed the new arrivals and explained they would introduce their companions to the class as part of their orientation. The presentation hall was circular, with seating arranged in ascending rings. Lily found a spot near the middle while other students spread out, their companions either beside them or in special containment areas for larger beasts. Breck went first. His Thrager stomped to the center of the hall and the floor actually shook. He spoke proudly of his species' warrior tradition, how each Craw bonded with a Thrager at age 10, how they trained together for battle and honor. The Thragor roared on command, a sound that rattled Lily's ribs. Students applauded enthusiastically. Nella presented next, explaining how her symbiote connected to her nervous system, allowing them to share thoughts and feelings. The creature pulsed with colors that matched her emotions. When she felt happy, it glowed warm gold. When curious, it shifted to cool blue. The display was mesmerizing. One by one, students showcased their impressive companions. Each presentation brought oohs and ahs from the audience. Then Professor Halvin called Lily's name. She stood, carrier in hand, and walked to the center. The whispers started immediately. Humans were new to the Galactic Union, only 43 years since first contact. Most species viewed them as small, weak, and hopelessly inexperienced compared to civilizations thousands of years old. Lily set the carrier down and opened the door. Ratch emerged slowly, sniffing the air. He was about 3 feet long with gray and white fur, a broad flat head and a stocky body. To anyone unfamiliar with Earth's animals, he looked like an oversized weasel or perhaps an oddly proportioned cat. The silence lasted exactly 2 seconds before laughter erupted. Breck's voice cut through the noise. "That's your companion? It looks like something my Thragor would eat for a snack." More laughter. Even some of the more polite students couldn't hide their smiles. Lily's face burned, but she kept her voice steady. "This is Ratch. He's a honey badger from Earth." "A what?" Someone called out. "A honey badger. They're native to Africa and parts of Asia on my planet." Breck stood up, grinning. "And what does this honey badger do? Does it make honey? Does it dance?" The classroom roared with laughter again. Professor Halvin raised a hand for silence, but his expression showed curiosity rather than discipline. "Please continue, Lily Chen. Tell us about your companion's abilities." Lily took a breath. Honey badgers have the thickest skin of any animal their size. They're immune to most venoms, including some of the deadliest snakes on Earth. They have powerful jaws that can crack turtle shells. They're incredibly strong for their size and can fight off predators many times larger. Breck snorted. "Right, this tiny creature fights big predators. And I suppose humans can breathe in space without suits too?" More laughter. Lily continued, her voice firmer now. "Honey badgers are known for one thing above all else. They don't back down. Ever. They've been documented attacking lions, water buffalo, and even young elephants when threatened. They don't understand fear the way most animals do. Nella, the Sifar girl, tilted her head thoughtfully. How does an animal not understand fear? Fear is survival. For most species, yes, Lily said. But honey badgers evolved differently. They're too stubborn to care about the odds. This brought another wave of laughter, though some students now looked intrigued rather than mocking. So you brought the galaxy's most stubborn weasel to the academy, Breck said, sitting back down with a satisfied smirk. How very human. Choosing hard over sense. Professor Halvin gestured for Lily to return to her seat. As she walked back with Ratch following calmly behind her, she heard the whispers. Humans are so naive. They actually think that little thing is impressive. Give them a few years. They'll learn. Lily sat down and let Ratch climb into her lap. He immediately curled up and closed his eyes, completely unbothered by the room full of alien students and their dangerous companions. Within seconds, he was snoring softly. Despite everything, Lily smiled. Let them laugh. They would learn soon enough. Honey badgers didn't care about expectations, and neither did she. Professor Halvin cleared his throat. Tomorrow we begin the companion trials. All student companion pairs will participate. I suggest you all rest well tonight. The challenges ahead will test not just your companion's strength, but the bonds you share with them. Around the room, students exchanged confident looks, already certain of their success. No one looked at Lily except Nella, whose compound eyes reflected something that might have been sympathy or perhaps genuine interest. Lily scratched behind Ratch's ears. Tomorrow would be interesting. The trial grounds occupied an entire section of Silverlight Academy's southern wing. Lily stood at the entrance to the maze of concordance, watching as holographic walls shimmered into existence, creating a complex three-dimensional puzzle that shifted and changed every few minutes. Other students gathered in small groups discussing strategy with their companions. Breck's Thragor paced nearby, its armored bulk making the floor panels creak. The crawlboy stroked the creature's scaled neck confidently. He caught Lily watching and smirked. Try not to get lost in there, human. We'd hate to waste time searching for you and your pet. Lily didn't respond. Ratch sat at her feet, scratching behind his ear with a back leg, completely disinterested in the proceedings. Professor Halvin's voice echoed through the chamber. The maze of concordance tests your ability to work with your companion under pressure. You must reach the center together, retrieve your token, and return to the starting point. Time matters, but so does method. Breaking through walls will result in penalties. Use your bond. Use your intelligence. Use your trust. Nella approached Lily, her symbiote pulsing gentle green. Good luck, she said quietly. I hope your badger is as special as you believe. Thanks, Lily replied, meaning it. One by one, pairs entered the maze. Most took 15 to 20 minutes. Some finished faster, others slower. Breck and his Thragor completed the course in 12 minutes. The beast using its size to navigate wide corridors while Breck rode on its back, directing it through memorized patterns from previous year's recordings. When Breck emerged, he raised his fists in victory. 12 minutes. Let's see anyone beat that. Several students hadn't, but none had done significantly better either. The top time before Breck was 13 minutes. Then came Lily's turn. She walked to the entrance with Ratch waddling beside her. Whispers followed them. This should be entertaining. How much do you bet they don't even finish? The badger will probably fall asleep halfway through. The countdown began. 3, 2, 1. Lily and Ratch entered the maze. The holographic walls rose around them immediately, creating corridors that branched in multiple directions. Lily looked down at Ratch, expecting to need to guide him, to call him back from wrong turns, to carefully navigate together. Ratch looked at the shimmering wall in front of them, sniffed it once, then began digging. Wait, what are you doing? Lily hissed. Ratch ignored her. His powerful claws tore at the floor panels beneath the holographic barrier. Within seconds, he had created a gap large enough to squeeze through. He looked back at Lily as if to say, Coming? Lily glanced around. The rules said breaking through walls earned penalties. They said nothing about going under them. She dropped to her stomach and crawled through after Ratch. On the other side, they found themselves in a section of the maze that should have taken several turns to reach. Ratch sniffed the air, turned left, and started walking. Lily followed. When faced with a wall too thick to dig under, Ratch simply climbed it. His claws found purchase on surfaces that looked completely smooth, and his compact body squeezed through gaps that seemed impossible. When he reached the top, he looked down at Lily. She studied the wall, found similar handholds, and climbed after him. Her fingers ached by the time she reached the top, but she made it. They dropped into another corridor. This one had multiple paths, each identical. Most companions would need to explore each one or rely on their partner's memory. Ratch sniffed each entrance for exactly 2 seconds, then chose one and trotted down it confidently. Lily had no idea how he knew, but she trusted him. 3 more corridors, 2 more impossible squeezes, and 1 instance of Ratch simply pushing through a holographic wall so weak it flickered and died, and they reached the center. The token waited on a pedestal, a small glowing sphere unique to each pair. Lily grabbed it while Ratch investigated a corner, probably hoping to find food. "Okay. We need to get back," Lily said. Ratch looked at her, looked at the way they'd come, then looked at the wall directly between them and the exit. His intention was clear. "No, we can't just go straight through," Lily started to say. Ratch was already digging. This time, the floor gave way to a maintenance access tunnel, never meant to be part of the maze but running parallel to it. Ratch squeezed into the tunnel. Lily hesitated for only a moment before following. The tunnel was cramped, dark, and smelled like recycled air and cleaning solutions. Ratch moved through it like he'd lived there his entire life, his claws clicking on metal panels. Lily crawled after him, banging her elbows and knees, wondering if this would disqualify them completely. Then she saw light ahead. The tunnel opened near the maze entrance on the exterior side. Ratch squeezed out through a maintenance panel and Lily followed. Tumbling onto the floor of the main chamber, right at the exit point, she scrambled to her feet, token in hand, and crossed the finish line. The timer read 8 minutes and 43 seconds. Silence filled the chamber. Professor Halvin stared at the timer, then at Lily, then at Ratch, who had found a spot of sunlight from a nearby viewport and was rolling on his back in it. "How?" Breck demanded. "That's impossible." Professor Halvin reviewed the maze footage on his tablet, his crystalline features reflecting confusion and something that might have been admiration. They went under walls, climbed over barriers, found a maintenance tunnel that technically isn't part of the maze structure. "That's cheating," another student called out. Professor Halvin held up a hand. "The rules state that breaking through walls results in penalties." They did not break through walls. They went around them using existing structures. He paused. "And the maintenance tunnel, while unconventional, is physically within the maze boundaries." "It's still not fair," Breck insisted. "Fair?" Professor Halvin's voice carried an edge now. "The maze tests your ability to work with your companion using intelligence and trust. Most of you memorized routes from previous years or used brute force. Lily Chen and her companion analyzed the challenge and found creative solutions. That is precisely what the trial measures." Lily barely heard the discussion. She sat on the floor next to Ratch, who had rolled back onto his stomach and was already starting to doze. Nella approached, her symbiote glowing bright yellow. "That was amazing. I've never seen anyone approach the maze that way." "Ratch did all the work," Lily admitted. "I just followed." "But you trusted him," Nella said, even when his methods seemed wrong. Other students gathered around, some admiring, others skeptical. Breck stood apart, arms crossed, glaring at the timer that still displayed Lily's record-breaking time. A large shadow fell over Lily. She looked up to see a student from the Goroth species, massive and powerful, with his equally massive companion, a 6-legged predator from his homeworld. The Goroth student reached down toward Ratch. "May I?" he asked. Lily tensed but nodded. The student extended one massive finger toward Ratch. The honey badger opened one eye, assessed the gesture, then closed his eye again, and went back to sleeping. He didn't move away, didn't acknowledge the touch beyond that single glance. The Goroth student's companion, however, took a step back. A low whine escaped its throat. "Your companion fears Ratch," Lily realized. The Goroth student straightened. It senses something. Something that says this small creature is not prey. He looked at Lily with new respect. "Perhaps we all misjudged." "Perhaps," Professor Halvin said. "That is exactly the lesson this trial was meant to teach." 2 days after the maze trial, Professor Halvin announced a field trip to Andros 4's premier wildlife preserve. The entire class would board shuttles and visit the surface, observing native species in their controlled habitats. It would be educational, safe, and a chance for students to see how different worlds produced different evolutionary paths. Lily sat near the back of the shuttle with Ratch sleeping in her backpack. Only his head poked out, chin resting on her shoulder. Since the maze trial, other students had stopped laughing at him, though Breck and his friends still muttered that it had been luck or rule-bending. The preserve sprawled across 1,000 square miles of endorse IV's equatorial forest. Massive trees with purple bark reached toward the pale orange sky, and strange bird-like creatures soared between branches. The shuttle landed on a raised observation platform that connected to enclosed walkways throughout the preserve. Stay within the designated paths, Professor Halvin instructed as students disembarked. The barriers are energy-based and completely secure. You'll be able to observe wildlife safely while they remain unaware of our presence. The group split into smaller clusters, following different walkway routes. Lily ended up with Nella, Breck, and a handful of other students. Their path led deep into the forest where larger predators lived. Ratch woke up as they walked, nose twitching at all the new smells. Lily let him climb down from her pack but kept close. The energy barriers hummed faintly, invisible but definitely present. Through them, she saw creatures that looked like six-legged deer grazing on crystalline fungi, and small primates with 4 arms swinging through branches. The Night Stalker habitat is ahead, their guide announced. A Androsi graduate student named Kelvin. These are endorse IV's apex predators. We have 3 in this preserve, all carefully monitored. The walkway opened into a large viewing area overlooking a rocky canyon. Kelvin gestured to the information panels. Night Stalkers hunt in darkness using echolocation and thermal sensing. They're 12 feet tall, weigh nearly a ton, and have never known a natural enemy on this world. As if summoned, a Night Stalker emerged from a cave below. It moved like liquid shadow, all sleek muscle and predatory grace. Its skin seemed to absorb light and its eyes glowed faint red. Even behind the barrier, Lily felt her heart race. This was a true killer, honed by millions of years of evolution. Breck's Thragor, usually so confident, pressed against its companion's legs. Other students' companions showed similar unease. Only Ratch seemed unbothered, watching the Night Stalker with mild interest before trying to chew on Lily's shoelace. The barriers are maintained by redundant systems, Kelvin explained. There's never been a breach in 20 years of operation. The lights flickered, everyone looked up. The pleasant hum of the energy barriers wavered, dropped in pitch, then cut out entirely. Malfunction, Kelvin said, tapping his communication device. Everyone stay calm. The backup systems will engage in seconds. The backup systems did not engage. The Night Stalker's head snapped toward the viewing area. Without the barrier's energy signature, the students were suddenly visible, suddenly vulnerable, suddenly prey. It moved faster than anything that size should move, leaping from the canyon floor to the walkway in one fluid motion. Students screamed. Companions scattered or froze. Breck's Thragor, the mighty warrior beast, turned and ran. The Night Stalker landed 20 feet from the group, cutting off the route back to the shuttle platform. 3 students were on the wrong side of it, separated from the others. One was Nella. Her symbiote flashed panic red, cycling through colors too fast to distinguish individual hues. Kelvin shouted into his communicator, calling for security, for help, for anything. The Night Stalker ignored him, focused on the smaller, weaker students ahead. It moved toward Nella and the others, lowering its head, preparing to strike. Lily felt her backpack move. Ratch had climbed out. He dropped to the walkway floor and started walking toward the Night Stalker. Ratch, no. Lily reached for him, but he was already out of range. The honey badger covered the distance between them and the predator with surprising speed. The Night Stalker noticed him. This tiny creature approaching without fear, without the scent of threat, just moving forward with absolute purpose. The Night Stalker's lips pulled back, revealing teeth like daggers. It made a sound between a hiss and a roar, a warning that would send most creatures fleeing. Ratch continued walking. The Night Stalker's confusion was almost visible. This wasn't normal prey behavior. This wasn't normal anything behavior. Small creatures ran or hid or submitted. They didn't advance. Ratch reached the Night Stalker's front legs and, without any warning, launched himself upward, claws extended, jaws wide. He latched onto the predator's face. What followed wasn't a fight. It was chaos. The Night Stalker reared back, shaking its head violently. Ratch held on, claws digging into hide that had evolved to turn away most attacks. His thick skin absorbed blows that would have killed other animals his size. His jaws, designed to crack bones, found purchase and didn't let go. The Night Stalker slammed itself against the walkway railing. Ratch bounced but didn't release. It rolled, trying to crush this impossible attacker. Ratch rolled with it, emerged on top, still attached, still fighting. Security forces arrived, weapons drawn, but they held fire. They couldn't shoot without hitting Ratch, and honestly, they seemed too amazed by what they were seeing to interrupt. The Night Stalker, apex predator of an entire world that had never retreated from anything in its life, suddenly wanted nothing more than to escape from this small, furious creature. It backed toward the canyon edge, shaking its head desperately. Ratch finally released his grip and dropped to the walkway. The Night Stalker didn't wait. It leaped back into the canyon and disappeared into its cave at a dead run. Silence filled the preserve, broken only by emergency alarms still wailing in the distance. Ratch shook himself, sniffed the air once, then walked back toward Lily. He had scratches across his nose and shoulders, a torn ear and what looked like a bruised foreleg. He climbed up Lily's leg into her arms and immediately fell asleep, snoring softly against her chest. Kelvin stared, his crystalline face reflecting the emergency lights in frozen patterns. That's impossible. Night Stalkers don't retreat. They're apex predators. So are honey badgers, Lily said quietly, stroking Ratch's head. They just look different. Professor Halvin arrived moments later with more security. After ensuring all students were safe, he looked at Lily and Ratch for a long moment. We need to talk, he said, about Earth. News of the Night Stalker incident spread through Silverlight Academy faster than light through a wormhole. By evening, students who hadn't been on the field trip were stopping Lily in hallways, asking questions, requesting to see Ratch. The honey badger, for his part, seemed annoyed by the attention and spent most of his time sleeping in increasingly odd locations around Lily's dormitory. Professor Halvin called an emergency session of his xenobiology class. Every seat filled and students who weren't even enrolled asked permission to observe. Breck sat in his usual spot, but his expression had changed from mocking to something harder to read. Nella saved a seat for Lily, her symbiote glowing warm yellow in greeting. Today, Professor Halvin began, we're going to discuss something I should have assigned from the beginning. We're going to properly study Earth and its inhabitants, both human and animal. He activated the classroom's holo display. A blue and green planet appeared, rotating slowly. Earth, Class M world, single moon, located in what humans call the Sol system. Age approximately 4.5 billion years. Distance from galactic core, 30,000 light years. A fairly unremarkable world at first glance. The image zoomed in, showing continents and oceans. But examine closer and we find something unique. This world has experienced multiple mass extinction events. Ice ages that covered most continents. Volcanic periods that blackened the sky. Asteroid impacts that destroyed most life. And yet, life persisted. More than that, life thrived. Breck raised his hand. Many worlds have difficult periods. What makes Earth special? The frequency and severity, Professor Halvin replied. Most worlds experience one, maybe two major catastrophes in their developmental period. Earth experienced 5 mass extinctions, multiple ice ages, and countless smaller disasters. Life evolved not despite these challenges, but because of them. Survival on Earth required adaptability, resilience, and stubbornness. He changed the display. Different Earth animals appeared. Bears, crocodiles, eagles, wolves, sharks. These are just a fraction of Earth's predators. Notice the diversity. Evolution on Earth didn't favor one strategy. It favored every strategy. Ambush predators, pursuit predators, flying predators, swimming predators, pack hunters, solitary hunters. And prey species developed equally diverse defenses. Nella's symbiote pulsed curious blue. Where do honey badgers fit in this ecosystem? Professor Halvin smiled, the first time Lily had seen the expression on his crystalline features. An excellent question. The display changed to show Ratch's species. Honey badgers evolved in Africa, one of Earth's most competitive environments. They're omnivorous, eating everything from insects to small antelope. They raid beehives for honey, hence their name, despite painful stings that would deter most creatures. They're solitary, territorial, and possess one defining characteristic above all others. He paused for effect. They simply do not care about threats. A student from the Kelton species spoke up. That sounds like a death sentence. Fear is survival. For most species, yes, Professor Halvin agreed. But honey badgers evolved thick skin, immunity to most venoms, powerful jaws, and aggressive temperament. When threatened, they don't flee. They attack regardless of the opponent's size. This strategy worked so well that even large predators learned to leave them alone. Lions, leopards, hyenas all avoid confrontation with honey badgers. The risk isn't worth the reward. He pulled up footage from Earth showing a honey badger facing down a pride of lions. The big cats circled, testing, then eventually walked away. The badger went back to digging for food. Impossible, Breck muttered. No animal behaves that way. Earth animals do, Professor Halvin corrected. And now let's discuss humans. The display shifted to show human beings through various historical periods. Humans evolved alongside these creatures. They're physically weak compared to most animals their size. No claws, no fangs, no armor, no venom. By all logical standards, they should have gone extinct millions of years ago. But they didn't, Nella said softly. No, they did not, because humans developed different survival traits. Intelligence, yes, but so did many species. Tool use, yes, but so did others. What made humans successful was the same trait that makes honey badgers successful. They refused to quit. He showed images of early humans, hunting animals 10 times their size with primitive spears. Persistence hunting. Humans can't outrun prey, so they simply followed it for hours, for days if necessary, until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. They can't kill large predators easily, so they developed weapons, tactics, and cooperation. When environments changed, they adapted. When resources ran scarce, they migrated. When challenges seemed impossible, they found solutions. Breck stood up. Professor, I need to say something. Everyone turned to look. Breck's face showed an expression Lily had never seen from him. Humility. I mocked Lily and her companion. I said humans were naive, that they didn't understand strength. He looked directly at Lily. I was wrong. I judged using Craw standards, where strength means size and power in battle. But Earth teaches different lessons. Strength can mean endurance. Power can mean persistence. He sat down again, and several students nodded in agreement. Professor Halvin continued the lesson, showing more Earth species. Wolves that hunted in coordinated packs. Ants that built empires. Octopi that solved complex puzzles. Each example demonstrated the same pattern. Earth produced survivors who refused to give up. When the Galactic Union met humanity 43 years ago, Professor Halvin said, many species made the same mistake Breck admits to making. We saw small, physically weak beings without natural weapons or defenses. We assumed they were harmless, perhaps not worthy of full membership status. The display showed humanity's early space efforts. Rockets exploding on launch pads, failed Mars missions, near disasters and miraculous saves, but humans didn't stop. Every failure taught them. Every disaster was analyzed and overcome. In less than 2 centuries, they went from first flight to interstellar travel. They did this not because they're the smartest species or the strongest, but because they inherited Earth's primary lesson. Never surrender, Lily said quietly. Exactly, Professor Halvin confirmed. And honey badgers embody this principle in its purest form. When Lily brought Ratch to our academy, she brought a living example of Earth's evolutionary philosophy. We laughed because we didn't understand. Now we're beginning to. A Gorath student raised his massive hand. Professor, I've been researching Earth animals since the Preserve incident. I found references to other creatures. Canadian geese? Cassowaries? Something called a hippopotamus? Professor Halvin's expression became carefully neutral. Yes, Earth has many remarkable species, some perhaps more remarkable than others. I suggest we focus on honey badgers for now. But students were already pulling up Earth's animal database on their personal devices. Excited chatter filled the classroom as they discovered wolverines, crocodiles, and particularly, videos of geese attacking anything that moved. Nella leaned toward Lily. Your planet is terrifying, Lily smiled. We think it's normal. That, Nella said, her symbiote pulsing bright orange, might be the most frightening thing you've said yet. The final companion trial was called the Gauntlet, and it had made students fail out of Silverlight Academy for the past 30 years. Unlike previous trials, the Gauntlet tested everything at once: trust, courage, physical ability, and the true depth of bond between student and companion. The course record stood at 42 minutes, set by a Craw warrior and his battle beast 3 years earlier. Lily stood at the starting line with Ratch at her feet. Around them, other students made final preparations, checking equipment and giving their companions last-minute encouragement. The gauntlet stretched before them, a massive course that filled an entire training wing. 4 major obstacles, each designed to test different aspects of the partnership. Professor Halvin addressed the assembled students. The gauntlet is not about winning. It's about discovering the truth of your bond. Some of you will finish quickly. Some will take longer. Some may not finish at all, and that's acceptable. What matters is how you and your companion face these challenges together. Breck went first, as was traditional for the strongest competitor. His Thrager charged through the opening gates, and Breck rode on its armored back. The first obstacle, the chasm jump, required clearing a 50-foot gap. The Thrager gathered itself and leaped, muscles bunching and releasing with precise power. They cleared the gap with room to spare. Time: 2 minutes 15 seconds for the first obstacle. Nella and her symbiote worked together through the second obstacle, the fear chamber, which projected species-specific terrors. Her symbiote's bioluminescence helped her navigate through visions of hive destruction, and she guided it through its own fears of isolation. They emerged shaken but successful. Time: 8 minutes 30 seconds. One by one, students tackled the course. Some excelled at certain obstacles but struggled with others. The Goroth student and his 6-legged predator dominated physical challenges, but took nearly 20 minutes in the fear chamber, both overwhelmed by psychic projections. Then came Lily's turn. She approached the starting gate with Ratch waddling beside her. The honey badger had woken from his nap only minutes before and still looked slightly annoyed at being disturbed. Students gathered to watch, some supportive now, others still skeptical. The gates opened. The first obstacle, the chasm jump, appeared immediately. 50 feet of empty space over a safety net far below. Most companions could jump it or fly over it. Ratch looked at the gap, looked at Lily, then started walking along the edge. "Ratch, where are you going?" The honey badger ignored her, investigating the chasm's edge until he found what he wanted. A maintenance ladder built into the wall. Without hesitation, he began climbing down. Lily watched in disbelief, then understanding. Ratch wasn't going to jump the gap. He was going under it. She followed him down the ladder across the bottom while the safety net swayed beneath them, then up the other side. Time: 11 minutes 40 seconds. Slow, but they'd made it. The second obstacle was the fear chamber. They entered together and the walls began projecting. For Lily, visions of failing her family, disappointing Earth's first generation of galactic students being sent home in shame. The images cut deep, showing her parents' disappointed faces, her teacher's head-shaking regret. She pushed forward through tears, forcing one foot in front of the other. Then she noticed Ratch. He walked through the chamber completely unbothered. The walls projected images meant to terrify him. Larger predators, dangerous situations, threats to his survival. He ignored all of it, sniffing at corners, occasionally stopping to scratch behind his ear. Lily stopped crying. If Ratch could ignore fear entirely, she could at least try. She focused on his example and made it through. Time: 6 minutes 20 seconds. Faster than Nella. The third obstacle was the predator's hunt. Students had to evade while their companion distracted or delayed robotic predators programmed to hunt them down. Most companions used size, speed, or special abilities to draw the predators away from their partners. Ratch's approach was different. When the first robotic predator emerged, sleek and dangerous looking, programmed with hunting behaviors from a dozen worlds, Ratch walked directly toward it. The robot's sensors read him as threat level minimal and ignored him, focusing on Lily instead. Ratch bit the robot's leg. The robot tried to shake him off. Ratch held on, claws digging into metal, jaws clamped tight. The robot stopped hunting Lily and started trying to remove this persistent attacker. Another robot appeared. Ratch released the first one and immediately attacked the second. Then the third. He wasn't distracting them. He was counter-hunting them. Lily made it through the section while Ratch kept 3 robots occupied with his absolute refusal to be ignored or intimidated. Time: 7 minutes 50 seconds. The final obstacle was the summit. Student and companion had to climb a 50-meter vertical wall separately, then meet at the top. Most companions could fly or climb naturally. Humans were adequate climbers with the right handholds. Ratch started climbing immediately, his powerful claws finding purchase on surfaces that looked impossible. He reached the top in 4 minutes. Lily began her climb. Her arms burned after the first 10 meters. Her fingers cramped at 20 meters. At 30 meters, her legs started shaking. She looked up. 20 meters to go. She'd never make it. Her strength was failing. At the top, Ratch paced back and forth. He could have claimed victory. The trial rules stated that if one partner reached the summit, that counted as completion. But Ratch didn't settle. He kept pacing, kept looking down at Lily, kept making small distressed sounds, then he started climbing back down. "Ratch, no," Lily called up. "Stay there. You made it." The honey badger ignored her, descending with the same confidence he'd shown going up. He reached Lily's position, climbed onto her back, and settled there with his head on her shoulder. The extra weight should have made climbing impossible. But somehow, feeling him there, knowing he'd come back for her rather than claim individual victory, gave Lily new strength. She found handholds she'd missed before. She pushed with legs that had felt dead moments earlier. Meter by meter she climbed. Students watching from below started cheering. Even Breck shouted encouragement. "Come on, human. Your badger believes in you." Lily's hand touched the summit edge 47 minutes after they'd started. She pulled herself up, Ratch still on her back, and collapsed on the platform. They'd finished. Not the fastest time, not even close to the record, but they'd finished together. Professor Halvin met them at the summit. "I've been teaching this trial for 15 years. I've seen strength, speed, and power. Today, I saw something different. I saw partnership in its truest form." Lily sat up, Ratch sliding into her lap. "We were so slow." "Time isn't everything," Professor Halvin said. "Your companion reached the summit in the top 5 fastest times ever recorded. But he came back for you. That choice, that loyalty, that bond, is what this trial truly measures." Below, students were still cheering. Nella's symbiote glowed so brightly it could be seen from the summit. The Gorath student raised his massive fists in salute. Even Breck was clapping. Ratch, unconcerned with the celebration, had already fallen asleep. The graduation ceremony for the companion trials took place in Silverlight Academy's Grand Hall, a magnificent space with transparent walls showing the stars beyond. Students filled the seats, their companions beside them, while parents and families watched via holographic transmission from their homeworlds. Lily adjusted her formal uniform and glanced at Ratch, who she'd managed to convince into a small ceremonial collar for the occasion. He looked deeply offended by it, but tolerated the indignity because she'd promised treats afterward. Professor Halvin stood at the podium, his crystalline form reflecting the starlight. "We gather today to recognize students and companions who completed this year's trials. But before we present individual honors, I want to discuss what these trials truly mean." He gestured to the assembled students. "Every year, young beings come to this academy bringing the best companions their worlds can offer. Strong companions, fast companions, companions with obvious power and clear advantages. And every year we watch them succeed in predictable ways." Nella's symbiote pulsed soft gold beside Lily. They'd become close friends over the past weeks, studying together, sharing stories about their different worlds. "This year," Professor Halvin continued, "we learned something important. We learned that strength takes many forms, that the smallest companion can teach the greatest lessons, that evolution on one small world, pushed to extremes by constant challenges, can produce creatures that defy everything we think we know about survival." He looked directly at Lily. "Lily Chen, please come forward. Bring your companion." Lily stood, her heart pounding. Ratch followed reluctantly, still annoyed about the collar. They walked to the stage while hundreds of eyes watched. Professor Halvin addressed the assembly. "When Lily arrived with her honey badger, we laughed. I am ashamed to admit that I too found it amusing. We saw a small creature from a world we considered unremarkable, brought by a species we viewed as inexperienced. We were wrong on every count." He pulled up footage from the trials. The maze navigation, the Night Stalker confrontation, the gauntlet climb. This companion and this student showed us that true strength isn't about size or obvious power. It's about refusing to quit, about facing impossible odds without fear, about loyalty that puts victory second to partnership. Breck stood up from his seat. "Professor, may I speak?" Professor Halvin nodded. The cross student walked to the stage, his Thragger following. He stood beside Lily and turned to face the audience. "I was wrong," Breck said simply. "I judged using only what I knew. My people value martial strength, battle prowess, courage in combat. These are good values, but they're not the only values. Lily and Ratch taught me that determination can be as powerful as size. That intelligence can overcome strength, that the companion who comes back for their partner shows more courage than the one who wins alone. He extended his hand to Lily, in the human gesture of respect she'd taught him. She shook it while students applauded. Professor Halvin presented Lily with a special recognition medal, one rarely given. This is the Companion Bond Award. It's not for winning. It's for demonstrating the deepest connection between student and companion. Lily Chen, you've earned this not through speed or power, but through trust and partnership. As Lily returned to her seat, other students received their own recognition. Breck got the Strength Award for his Thrager's performance. Nella received the Harmony Award for her perfect synchronization with her symbiote. The Gorath student earned the Courage Award for facing his fears in the chamber. After the ceremony, students gathered in the common area. Parents transmitted congratulations through holographic projectors. Lily's mother appeared, tears in her eyes. Speaking from Earth, we're so proud of you. Lily, you showed them what humans can do. Ratch did most of the work, Lily said, scratching behind the honey badger's ears. You chose him, her mother replied. You trusted him. You believed in him when others laughed. That's all you, sweetheart. The connection ended and Lily found herself surrounded by other students. They wanted to know more about Earth, about human history, about other animals from her world. She told them stories about wolves and their pack loyalty, about elephants and their incredible memory, about crows and their tool-using intelligence. Nella's father, transmitting from the Seafar homeworld, asked a question that made everyone pause. If honey badgers are considered normal on your world, what are considered dangerous? Lily thought about it. Well, there are polar bears and sharks and crocodiles and… We get it, Breck interrupted, laughing. Earth is terrifying. Question is, when can I visit? I want to see these creatures myself. Anytime, Lily said. But maybe avoid Australia. That's where the really dangerous stuff lives. Professor Halvin approached their group. Lily, I've been communicating with other academies across the Union. Your performance has generated significant interest. Several institutions want to study Earth species more thoroughly. The Galactic Union is reassessing its initial evaluation of your world. Because of Ratch? Lily asked. Because of what Ratch represents, Professor Halvin corrected. We judged humanity as weak because you lack physical advantages. We forgot that evolution favors survivors, not necessarily the strong. Your world produced countless species that thrived through determination and adaptation. Humans are simply the latest example. He paused, something like amusement crossing his features. Though I must ask, is it true that humans keep creatures called cats as pets? Small predators that successfully domesticated themselves and now coexist with humans on their own terms? Yes, Lily confirmed. Remarkable, Professor Halvin said. Your entire planet operates on principles we're only beginning to understand. Later, Lily sat in her dormitory with Ratch curled up on her lap. She'd received a message from her younger brother, who'd been accepted to Silverlight Academy for the following year. His message made her laugh. Lily, I got in. They said I could bring a companion animal. I was thinking about bringing Cooper. You know, our Canadian goose? He's mean enough to handle anything, right? Let me know what you think. Lily typed her response carefully. Bring Cooper if you want to start an intergalactic incident. Maybe consider something calmer. Love you, see you next year. She looked down at Ratch, who snored softly despite the uncomfortable collar he refused to let her remove. What do you think? Is the galaxy ready for Canadian geese? Ratch opened one eye, seemed to consider the question, then went back to sleep. The answer was obvious. The galaxy wasn't ready for honey badgers. It definitely wasn't ready for geese, but humans were patient. The galaxy would learn, one creature at a time. That's what humans did best, adapt, persist, and never quit. Just like the small, fearless companion who'd changed an entire academy's understanding of strength. Nella arrived at Lily's door, her symbiote glowing excited yellow. Come on, everyone's gathering in the observation deck. They want you to tell more Earth stories. Breck's bringing snacks from his homeworld. The Gorath students are bringing their traditional drinks. It's going to be amazing. Lily stood, Ratch protesting sleepily at being disturbed. She removed his collar finally, and he immediately perked up, ready for whatever came next. They walked together through Silverlight Academy's corridors, past other students from dozens of worlds. Some nodded respectfully. Others smiled. A few younger students watched Ratch with awe. Nobody laughed anymore. They'd all learned. Humans weren't the biggest or the strongest or the fastest, but they were survivors from a world that taught harsh lessons about persistence and determination. They were partners to creatures that embodied these principles in pure form. And most importantly, they were done being underestimated. Lily reached the observation deck where her friends waited, where stories would be shared and bonds would deepen, where the next chapter of humanity's place among the stars would be written one day at a time. Ratch, unconcerned with history or significance or anything beyond the immediate promise of treats, waddled ahead to investigate the snacks. Perfect, Lily thought. Absolutely perfect.